Hello, welcome back to Reads of an Apple. My name is Stacy, and today we are finally getting back to my digital journal. So, if you have not seen me do any of the setup, I will link, I don't know if I have a playlist. If not, I will make one before this video goes up of my digital journal stuff. I have done a setting up video / how I track my books and what I'm planning on doing. This is my first year using a digital journal. And then I also had my quarter 1 flip through. So this will be mid-year flip through, quarter 2 flip through. So we will go through my specific January, February, March ones, but I won't spend as much time on them because I discuss those at length in my quarter 1 flip through. But I'll at least show them. So if you haven't seen that, you can at least see what I did. But we'll just kind of focus more on going through the quarter 2 and then checking out the yearly challenges and how that portion is doing now that we're halfway through the year. I use Canva for my digital journal. It just seems to be what is working the best for me. I might try some of the other programs in the future, but Canva is free. I use the free version, and I also will link down 2 sites down below that I use a lot for either graphics or things. I use stuff from Canva itself for the free options, but I use Creative Fabrica for a lot of like paper sheets and some of the graphics that people have uploaded on there. You can pay for some of them, but I utilize the free options. When things are free out there, I utilize them. And then there is a digital planner like sticker designer that I will also link down below. Their name is escaping me, of course, as of this moment, but she does free like intro packs. Like, so if she releases a set of something, there'll be like a little, see 5 of the stickers that's in this 100+ sticker pack for free. And so I also use some of her stuff. She also, if you sign up for her newsletter, she offers like free freebies every once in a while, like backgrounds and templates and different things like that. So I always utilize them. I love her cutesy artwork style and the vibe of a lot of the stuff that she does. So I'm going to stop blabbering at you. We'll switch over to my computer screen and then we will see what happens there. All right, so here we go. We are at my computer. As you can see, I have changed my background. Once again, I like to change it up quite frequently. I used to do it every month. But anyway, I was feeling the One Piece vibes, and this one kind of made me a little teary-eyed. If you know One Piece, this is their former ship, the Going Merry, up in ship heaven, and it's looking over their new ship, the Thousand Sunny. So I saw this artwork and I was like, it has to be my background. Plus, because it's on the water, and I don't know, and we've got pretty clouds and like a sunset kind of a situation. It felt perfect for like the summer months. But anyway, let us just jump in. So here is my digital journal. We're going to go full screen and we're just going to go page by page. If it wants to go full screen, my goodness. There we go. Okay. So, as you can see, if you haven't seen, I kind of made this as like a little bit realistic as possible. I did like the wood grain background, so it's like I'm sitting at a desk when I'm doing this. But here we go. Here is the front page or the front cover, I guess. And let us just move through it. So, again, if you've seen some of this might be a repeat for you, but I'm going to go through if in case this is your first one. So first thing we have is a bookish quote. She reads books as one would breathe air to fill up and live. And that is by Annie Dillard. Love it. And so does Cheese, apparently. Goodness gracious. Hi. So then I have my 2023 personal and bookish goals. So first bookish goal is read one book in each of my tracking sub-genres. Those are contemporary, historical, fantasy, sci-fi, and paranormal. And so far, so good. We are hitting it. I have been very conscious to pick up at least one of each book every month. And I am just really happy that I am able to complete that. I think it'll make my end of the year brackets for each subgenre so much easier, since I will at least have read one of each subgenre a month, which is great. Then my second bookish goal is to finish rereading The Dragonkin and the Lucky Harbor series. I have started my reread of the Lucky Harbor series. I've only read the first 2 books out of it, and it's like a 10 or 12 book series. So yeah, that's not going too hot, but maybe I'll try to really kind of focus on those coming up. Or maybe I might say these goals are a wash and move on. I have not started my reread of the Dragonkin series as of yet. Then my third bookish goal was to get caught up in Cressley Cole's Immortals After Dark. And I have not read book 4, I think is the next book I have. Yeah, so I haven't read an Immortals After Dark book since the end of 2022. So that one's not going so hot either. But I also know that it would be very bingeable for me. I just haven't allowed myself the free time to binge the series, but I feel like as we're getting into like the fall and the spookier months, that might be a good time to really kind of delve into that, because there's a lot of like paranormal or like spooky based readathons happening. So we'll see on those. But at least the first goal I am doing really, really well in and knocking it out of the park. So I'm happy there, Then for my personal goals, set up and use a reading journal and my one planner for 2023. So far, so good. I have, for the most part, been pretty good at going through and at least on the monthly spreads, updating them in the middle of the month. And then at the end of the month, when I do my stats for the month and do my like wrap-ups and things. And so I'm very happy that it has not fallen out of habit so far, and I'm pretty happy with that. My second personal goal was to save more money and potentially set up a retirement fund. I am saving where I can. If you've been around a while, I had a bunch of vet bills happening. Cheese was having thyroid issues, and so my savings was pretty drained, and then I had some car problems. But it is kind of slowly being built back up, and I'm hoping to kind of be able to get things a little bit reset at the end of the year. As for a retirement fund, I still have not done that yet. We actually were legally required to set one up at work recently. Through the state, but I haven't decided if I wanted to move forward with that one yet. So it's still on my mind. However, right now I'm in a situation where with inflation and everything, when I got my apartment, I was able to get a discounted rate based on my income. However, I wasn't allowed to have a raise for a year, and typically I do get a raise in like March. So I wasn't able to get my raise because then I wouldn't be able to keep my apartment. So I don't really have quite as much extra funds as I typically would have in a normal year. So I'm hoping that next year I'll finally be able to get my raise and just kind of be able to kind of settle things a little bit monetary wise. But I've been doing okay. I'm not complaining. I've been doing good. I've been making things work. And I have been able to save a little bit of money. It just seems like every time I have a little nest saved, either the kitty or the car has problems. But you always have problems, don't you? I know. One of them being you want my attention all of the time. And then my third personal goal is, when in my new place, to start taking concrete steps for a small business. Once again, this kind of goes into that. take concrete steps. I need a better cash flow, and I also need to be able to start earning money and selling things. And like I just mentioned, I can't make more than what I make right now. So that has to be put on. I mean, that was very quickly. I mean, I made this at the end of 2022, early 2023, and I moved into my apartment in the end of January. So that very quickly was like, I can't do any money things with it. I can't make any money, and I probably shouldn't spend money setting it up this year, but that is definitely one I do want to put on going forward. However, outside of the monetary stuff, I have been making notes and coming up with little ideas and things for when I want to move forward with this and I'm able to move forward with it. I have a good outline and base structure of what I'd like to do. So we will just move on now that those are done. So here we have my Goodreads challenge. Each color of heart corresponds to a month. As you can see, June was pretty rocking. I read quite a few books in June. I just thought this was going to be a fun way to kind of look at everything and just see it color by color. And I do have all of my colors planned for the months down below, as you can see, just kind of there as a legend for myself. And you'll see the same colored hearts throughout this entire journal. I kind of just was like, I'm going to set my colors right away, and then we will go from there. So here's where we're at as of the end of June. And then I did make a second page for moving forward. All right, here are my yearly stats up to date. Now, when I did do this, it was a couple days into July when I went through and updated this. So there are a couple books from the beginning of July added into these stats. And I realized that after I had done most of my yearly statistics, and I was like, ugh. And I didn't want to go back and fix them. So this is June plus the first couple days of July, but here are where my normal stats are sitting at. And then here is my breakdown once again, color coded by the months for ratings. So a lot of 5 stars this year, which is good to see. That's really good to see. And one tiny little DNF. I don't DNF very often. It takes a lot for me to DNF. But, it's fun to look at it this way in this graph, because I can tell that me being more intentional with what books I'm picking up has definitely led to higher rated reads, which is always a good thing, because you don't want to read a bunch of bad books, right? Alrighty, so now we have my genre breakdown. So once again, everything's color coded by month. Here is the genre breakdown: contemporary fantasy, historical, paranormal, sci-fi, and urban fantasy. I'm kind of surprised how many paranormals I've read. I feel like it used to be a major subgenre for me, and then it's kind of petered off the last couple years. But I think pushing myself to make sure that I'm reading one a month has definitely helped my paranormal kind of re-enter a default option for me. And I feel like because I've been reading more paranormal, my sci-fi has dropped quite a bit. And then just so you're wondering, I do have urban fantasy here. However, when it comes to my brackets at the end of the year, I do group in urban fantasy with fantasy. Then my pie chart over here is contemporary broken down. So we have dark, dystopian, erotic, holiday, normal, contemporary, office, which I might change to normal. I don't know why I made office its own thing, but rom-com, small town, sports, and suspense. So as you can see, small town, normal, contemporaries, and dark and sports are kind of my main go-tos, but I know holiday will get a big jump as we get towards the end of the year, because I like to read a lot of holiday romances for Christmas and Halloween. Goodness gracious. Okay, moving forward. So our top we have here, I didn't label that top chart. I don't know what that top chart is. Well, that's unfortunate. I don't know what that is. Okay, we will just move on from that top one. That's a mountain chart. That is how I read. So what, if I remember correctly, it should be the blue is physical, the pink is ebook, the green is audiobook, and then the yellow is combination. So typically that's either an ebook with an audiobook or a physical book with an audiobook, is what I think that one is. I'll have to make a note and go back and do that, because I think that happened last flip through as well, as I'm like, I don't know what this one is, but I think it's how I read them. Then we have the small bar chart, and that is once again color coded for the months, and that one is books that I've read that I already owned, books that I've added to my wish list, and books that I've had like pre-ordered. So when I read them, I either read them in ebook, but I already had the physical ordered, but it hadn't arrived by the time I read it, or a book that I read, but when I did my stats, I hadn't received it yet, like if it was an ARC or something like that, but I had the physical already ordered. So there's that. Then as for our line chart here on the bottom, these are decades read. So the bottom line, which is just flat, is 1990s. Surprisingly, I haven't read any books published in the 1990s. I feel like usually I read at least once a month, but my historical romance has kind of petered off a little bit, and that's typically the 1990s books I read, or the old historical romances. Then we have the purple line, so the second one up here, that is this one right here. That is 2000s. Then we have 2010s is this orange one. And then our top line is 2020s, because that one somehow is just... I've been reading more books published in the last 3 years, I think, than ever before, which is bonkers. Although we do have more years to compile into that. So I guess that kind of makes sense. All right, on to our next and I think final page. So we will start kind of over here on the left-hand side. These are publishers. So the big blue chunk is indie published. The darker purple is the traditional. And then I do have a little bit of small publishers that I keep track of. Just below that, this one here, this is age ranges. As you can tell, almost half the books I read are characters that are in their 20s. And then the other big chunk is supernatural or immortal aged characters, ones that just live unnaturally. So I just put them in that. Even if they only live till like they're 200, that's not a normal age for humans. So I just put it in there. I am happy to see that there is a little bit of 40s in there. That's that dark chunk. And then I'm surprised about how much YA, that's the like light pink color, we have in there. But yeah, so there's age groups. That is a new stat tracker for me this year, but I'm having fun, and it's really kind of interesting, although not that surprising to look at the breakdown. Then up at the top over here, our other pie chart, this is page breakdowns. So we have 300s is the biggest chunk, but it's pretty close to the 200s. And then I've been reading quite a few novellas this year. And then obviously we've got a good chunk, 10.3% of 400s. We've got about 5% of books in the 500 page range. And then we've got a 600, a 700, and an 800. And then the one tiny little slice L at the top here, that is my one DNF. Then at the bottom here, these are where the books are located as of how I read them. So if I own it physically, it's marked as a book I already own, even if I read it via ebook. But for this specific stat, if I read it via ebook and I checked it out from Hoopla, so to speak, to read the ebook, even though I have it on my shelf, I will mark this stat as having it on Hoopla, even though I owned it. So it's how I read, the format I read. So One of my other goals, which wasn't mentioned at the top, but just kind of a side goal that I also set for myself, which I might compile the front three now that I think about it and throw that Hoopla one in there because it is one that I set for myself. I just didn't write it down anywhere, is to use at least 5 of the 10 Hoopla checkouts I have a month. And so far, I have been able to hit it. I have really kind of been pushing, and I'm also saying those at least 5 of them have to be books or audiobooks or like ebooks, or you know what I mean. Because they do have like TV shows and music, which I don't check out music from Hoopla, but they do have TV shows and like movies and stuff. But so far, I have made that goal. And as for July, I think I only have one more checkout to hit that this month. So that's great because we're only like halfway through the month. But once again, these are all color coded by months. And as for Hoopla, it looks like my best month was, what is before June? May? I don't know. What is time, right? I'm surprised how much I've used Libby, because I typically don't use Libby too much. I feel like my local library system, Hoopla, is where it's at. I have requested, I can't tell you how many books from Libby for my library to buy, and they have never purchased one in like the few years that I've been using Libby, and so that's just kind of disappointing. But I was also kind of surprised to see how many physical books I've really tried to pick up this year. It looks like there's at least one a month, which is great. And then for the ebooks, those are ebooks I digitally owned, not something else. And then I do have 2 little ARCs. I don't really read ARCs very often. I'm not a big ARC reader. That isn't something that I have really gotten into, but it's fun that I was able to get to 2 ARCs. So yeah, we will just move forward. So I think that is the last statistics page. So here we go for library tracking. Like I mentioned, this left-hand side here is Hoopla, as you can tell. And yeah, so I marked, so this one says 3-in-1. It was one audio checkout, but it had 3, it was an omnibus. So it was 3 books in one. So the stats may look a little funky because technically all 3 of those, when I read them singly, were from Hoopla, but it only counted as one Hoopla checkout. And then the same, here's A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. This was the graphic audio, but it was broken down into 3 parts. So I was like, I wanted to make sure that I like highlighted that one was 3 separate checkouts, but it was technically one book. And then we have a 4-in-1 over here, and then a 2-in-1 here. Hoopla does also have bonus borrows at times, and so I wanted to keep track and just see how much of the bonus borrows I used. Obviously, by the icon you can tell here I checked out 5 episodes of a TV show, but you know, just so I know how much I'm actually utilizing it. And then here, as I mentioned, is my Libby. Once again, all of these are for my key of my color-coded months. So I had quite a bit from Libby in January, a little bit in February, 1 in March, 1 in April, and I have not used it since. However, I do have a checkout from them for the month of July. So I will be able to at least use another little colored cup here. Don't ask me why I chose the mug icon. I was just looking for icons, and that's the one I went with because I'm a tea and coffee connoisseur. Then I also wanted to keep track of my Kindle Unlimiteds. Don't ask me why I chose the jelly bean icon. It just looked cool. So here is my KU checkouts. Once again, I colored them based on the month. And yeah, I had a lot of library checkouts in January and February, but my KU went down drastically. But March, it shot right up, and I've been utilizing my KU a lot more. So this was something I wanted to add also, just so I can kind of see exactly how much I'm utilizing KU, which is great. It helps, make sure that I'm using my money, and I'm actually spending my money. So like I mentioned earlier, I do brackets at the end of the year. Technically, I do it at the beginning of the year, but it's for the previous year. But anyway, for each of the sub genre categories, and I wanted a space in my digital journal where I can keep track of what my number one of the month is going to be, so that when it comes time to start filling out my brackets, I could just like screenshot this, look at this on like my phone or something, and then do my brackets really quickly and already have at least the basics of what it's going to be, and then I just have to pull the information to set up my brackets. So here's where it is. Ignore the madness of the Horde Kings. This is just a cover that I had at the top of my uploads, and I did that. I just put it there so I could space out how I wanted them to lay out and just figure out how I wanted to space things. So it's just there as a placeholder so I know how far, like where I want the different rows to be. And then here is paranormal and sci-fi. And then as you can see, these are the themes for my brackets. Little spoiler of those. And those are going to be the backgrounds that I have for my 2023 brackets and color themes. So excited for that. If you've seen my brackets, I typically do a 16 seed bracket, but there's only 12 months in a year, right? So I do allow for 4 bonus books. So if I binge a series in a month, or I binge a genre in a month, and I have more than one favorite, it's hard to choose, right? So I do keep track of my bonus favorites, and then I can just pull them here. Once again, the hearts are color coded for the month, and then the washi tapes I use to mark them with are, even though I know them just by looking, the washi tapes I'll coordinate with the subgenres, and then those are the same ones that match. So as you can see here, we have the blue hearts and polka dots is contemporary, the green leaves is fantasy, these orange brownie roses is historical, we've got bats for paranormal, and then the purple stars for sci-fi. So those all match here, and then I just kind of tag them and put the colored heart over it so I know which month. So when I try to pull my stats, what I try to do for my brackets is pull books that I gave either 4.5 or 5 stars. If there aren't too many options, though, I will go down to a 4-star, but that's what I try to do for my brackets to keep things so that I can say it is a favorite book. So that's just keeping track. Now, these are new authors. So it's a little all over the place. This space is new authors, but ones that specifically I read their debut. If their debut came out in 2023, I might adjust this slightly because I know there are a couple books that I've read where it is a debut book, but it didn't pop in 2020 or it didn't release in 2023. So I might move them over here. These are debut books that I've had on my new releases list that I would like to pick up at some point. As you can tell, I've only read one so far, but I do plan on picking up this one soon and hopefully this one soon. I'm really excited for this one, and I'm really excited. I mean, I'm excited for all of these, but those 4 I'm hoping to get through this year. And then these are just the books that I read that are a new to me author. So just a way to keep track of it. I might have to kind of adjust this a little bit and spread it out because I know I'm going to definitely read probably at least another 30, if not less, if not more, but definitely more than what will fit in this one little section I have here. So I'll have to kind of adjust this and, I don't know, redo this spread or do something like that. And maybe I'll just make notes of debut authors I want to read instead of having them here, because this is just books I wanted to read and I haven't read yet. And that's not as exciting to have in a digital journal, you know? So we'll see. We'll see what I decide here. But this one definitely needs a little bit reworking. All right, now we are to our yearly challenges. So header page. So first off is Romanceopoly. I've been participating in Romanceopoly. Here is the board. I actually got a really nice, I went to FedEx, got it printed, got the cards printed, And so I've been playing it like physically, which is super fun. But I also have a digital version here. And then I took their PDF of the cards, cropped them all out, and I've been trying to make notes and updating. This is one of the ones when I updated this for the end of June. I hadn't updated Romanceopoly since I think it was early April. So I had some catch up to do, and that wasn't too bad. So here is where we're at. And so date I rolled it, the book I read, and the date that I finished it. So just so I can keep track and fill in everything as it comes. And then I did notice after the fact when I was putting things together, emergency services wasn't in the PDF of cards. I did reach out to them when I noticed, and I think they adjusted it. But since I already had everything set up, I kind of had to give it its own little add-on section here. So that's the kind of squeezed in where I could fit it. And then there is the end of Romanceopoly. Then I'm also participating in Guildathon this year. I joined the Curious Flame Guild, and the artwork that I used in the first couple pages in here were used by the Guildathon creators. I don't know if they had somebody make the art or what happened there, but this was art that the Guildathon people were using, so I just saved it so I could use it myself. So here is our first quarter of prompts. Somebody else made this little graphic here for all of the different guilds, and I just saved it, pasted it in here, and then here were the basic rules that we have. However, when I joined, I had no idea that we were going to have new prompts for each quarter. So what I had to do is get those added in. So I just copied it, and then I just kind of used little made little blank things, matched the color, and then I kind of adjusted it so I could put in the new ones. And then I did make space for quarter 4 as well. So here is the continuation of prompts. So I had to get this added in here. And then we have the actual books that I'm reading and what prompts I'm applying them to. And then just a big point tracker. And then just to kind of help my math, I added points per page at the bottom. So that's something a little bit different. And then I have had to add pages. So the first couple pages you'll see are the same layouts, but then we'll get into some new ones from there. So here is the first couple pages of books I've read. And then here is the next one. And then third page. So I think this was the last one that you guys saw. So now we have some newer ones. And, you know, our guild is all about music and crafting and like enjoying life and the passions. And so I was trying to choose some things that both worked for the guild and worked for me. And so this one, obviously, I did music themed for the Troopers, which is a drum corps that I am an alumni for. And I couldn't find a nice snare drum in the same art style, so I had to use a bass drum. But I did play the marching bass drum in high school. Technically, that wasn't my instrument, but I covered for somebody when we would do like our summer parades. So I have done the bass drum. And then I have a couple of blank pages that I can use. So here we are to quarter 1 spreads. I'm just, like I said, going to go through these really quickly, and you can kind of see the vibes, but we're not going to really touch base on them. But I will go at least a little bit and show you my layout plans if you haven't seen my other videos. So we have our opening title page, so to speak. I like doing a full double page spread. I think it's super fun. As you can tell, January, I went with like a wintry, snowy theme. So here is my TBR, and then I can add little check marks as I get things taken care of. So each TBR will have like book clubs and read-alongs, reading challenges, readathons, and then a note for new releases. And then as I have kind of expanded my TBRs, I have added like books that I want to read that aren't for anything specific. I just want to read them that month. And then we get into the books that I actually read. Now, as you've noticed, books that are tagged as favorites, when I am in my monthly books read, I keep these little washi tapes set aside, and then I just kind of mark them if it's a favorite for the subgenre. So then I can just quickly look through, see what has washies, and write it down, and then transfer it to, and then add the other information. Here's my one lone little DNF. And there's, so far, I have kept my books read two page spreads. And then this one I ended up kind of adding some extra stuff over here so to help it look really full. As you'll see, I haven't quite gotten my spacing down right, but this was also specifically for the Kindle Unlimited Readathon. I kind of got away from marking things like this, but I did it that way in the beginning. And then, whoa, I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know what this thing is. Why is this here? I don't know, go away. I don't know what this thing is. I don't know why this is here. Hold, please. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right, January statistics. I don't know what happened there. So once again, and now this time I did stats kind of based off of the theme I was going for the month, and then I have different little bullets as you can tell. So all of these will be the same stats or charts used. So genres, I did bar charts, contemporary breakdown, I did a pie chart, owned versus wish list, another bar chart, and then another stats page. So we've got our pie charts, our mountain charts. Yep, our mountains. Hey, look, our mountains I was correct, are how I read it. Bar chart for where it's located. Decades are the line chart, and then we've got pie charts for publishing, ages, and page breakdown, and then these are ratings. And then I do a quote page to end it all out. So as you can tell, January is Give Me a Night by the Fire with a book in my hand. And that is Mark Halperin from The Winter's Tale. And I tried to theme all of my quotes for that month. So we'll do a quicker flip through of February. February, you know, is love month. So of course I had to give it to one of my loves, my little kitty Cheese. And also just Valentine's Day themed and pinkish and kitties. So February TBR, as you can tell, I went crazy with the cats. I was like, we're doing it. And then Books Read Part 1, Books Read Part 2, and then our stats page, and our second stats page, and then our ending quote, What Greater Gift Than Love of the Cat by Charles Dickens. And then we have March. So March I themed of like entertainment I enjoy. So the opening here, these are all favorite TV shows of mine, of course with the Colorado Avalanche placard because that is a favorite love of mine, and then my couch is colored. I am a big entertainment fan, and so this one is TV and movies themed. So we have my TBR is Buffy themed, as you can see. And then Books Read, I had to go with Psych, one of my favorite TV shows. And then Lord of the Rings for the other Books Read. Then we have statistics, page 1. I went with One Piece. And then we had to do the Mummy. We just had to do the Mummy for my other stats. And I found these really cute canopic jar icons that I used as my bullet points because I'm obsessed. And then for my closing, I did favorite movies. So it was a hard time to narrow them down. And then we have a quote from Nathan Fillion just about TV shows and entertainment. Okay, so new spreads that you have not seen before. So April showers, bring me flowers, right? So I had to go with rain. I'm a big rain person. I love the rain. Nothing makes me happier than waking up and seeing just gray, cloudy skies. There are times when I'm like, I really should just move to like Washington, right? Washington State. Seattle, I know, is known for the rain. But so this is going to be all rain themed. So here we have my April TBR, a little bit pared down. Things have kind of been adjusted. This one I went a little more like to using like notepads and stuff, but you know, I just kind of do what I'm feeling at the month. So as you can probably tell, all of my monthly spreads don't really match each other, but I do try to keep similar fonts for like what I use as writing, and then I try to keep at least the basics of what a book breakdown looks like all the time. So books read part 1, and then we've got books read part 2. And then our stats page. I had fun with this one. I don't know why. I was like, I've got this guy standing here with an umbrella, so of course I had to put a balcony. Like, you know, he's standing outside waiting for her. So, you know, I don't know. And then I found these cute graphics, and I was able to kind of adjust the colors on them. And then I pulled my different charts and graphs and things based off the color of those. So I had fun trying to make that all fit. It took a while, but we got it all to fit, right? And then, of course, I had to use a Taylor Swift quote when it comes to rain because, you know, my girl loves rain just as much as I do. And I had to use it from Clean. Rain came pouring down. When I was drowning, that's when I could finally breathe. And by morning, gone was any trace of you. I think I am finally clean. That's from 1989, if you did not know. Have you ever noticed that, like, when you pull Taylor Swift quotes out of the song, they're basically just poetry? Just me? No? Okay. All right. All right. So May, you know, April showers, bring May flowers. So, of course, with May, I had to go flower themes. I found this really pretty vintage artwork paper. I think this one was on Creative Fabrica. And I just thought that was super cute. And then I had to add the little duck washi tape. Like, I taped it in there. And so, yep. So we are going flower themes. And I tried to pick favorite flowers and center them around, or good graphic collections that I found centered around a flower. So let's just jump into it. As you can see, May's TBR is yellow roses. This is a little busier than I typically go for, but I'm happy with how it turned out. It's just a lot, but I'm okay with that. So here we are, TBR. And then we have books read. This one I went with tulips, specifically tulips in like odd things. This one you can tell is technically an Easter one because it has Easter eggs in it, but we're just going to pretend that those are just frilliness on the basket. And then we've got tulips in watering cans. This one came as is, and then I created this one. I found a Canva watering can graphic, and then I kind of cropped another one of the other tulip ones to make it fit. So, you know, we do what we can to make it work. And then books read part 2, I had to go with lilies, which is one of my favorite flowers. Once again, I found some stems and I kind of replaced the lilies, and then I had fun messing around with the different colors I could make them. And then we have stats. So this one just had a really pretty wildflower. I think those are irises. I don't know. I found that really pretty graphic, and I was like, oh, it's like a garden. And then stats page 2. There is that. And then we have May. And this one I actually went down a little bit of a rabbit hole because an iteration of this quote has been quoted as belonging to somebody else. And I went through this little thread that was like, who actually said this quote and where did it come from? And it's been like slightly changed and paraphrased multiple times in the world by different people, but it seemed like technically the first person to have this in writing was Claudia Adrienne Grandy. but a lot of the times a very similar quote is credited to some person. It's a guy who it was accredited to. But from what I could tell from this really long thread, I think she is actually the first person to be like who should be credited with this quote, which is, if I had a single flower for every time I thought of you, I could walk forever in my garden. And I thought that was just perfect. So there we go. There is May. On to our final month all of a sudden. Oh my gosh. So June. I had to go with zebras. Zebras are my favorite wild animal. You know, I always say cats are one of my favorite animals. But, you know, if we look at wild animals, it's got to be zebras. I am a big zebra stan. I love them to pieces. Look at them. They're just so funny. I just love them. And of course, you know, I had to pull Taylor into June as well because I'm a Taylor fan as well, as you could probably tell. But with her Wildest Dreams music video and like the wilderness aspect, and we've got like safari animals type of situation, I found some really cute graphics from Wildest Dreams that fit the kind of like safari-ish vibe. So I popped those in there for fun as well. But zebras just crack me. I'm just looking at this other guy's just like, I don't know what he's doing. I love them. They're so funny. And then of course I had to use as bullet points a zebra head because, you know, why not? And I had fun with zebra print, maybe too much fun, but there we go. There's my June TBR, which is definitely missing some check marks. And then this one was postponed to July, as you can see. So I put a note on there because I was like, yes, I didn't do it, but it was postponed. And then we have my books read, part 1. As you can tell, I really kind of delved into some novellas in June. And so I had to kind of fit things where I could fit them. And then I was like, oh, I have a second page. And now I have all this empty space. So maybe if I decide to print this and have it physically, I might do some rearranging just to kind of fill up the books read sections so there isn't like giant empty spaces here. But, you know, it's fine. It's fine. So then we have our stats. And I found these really cool zebra print hearts. And these are actually 2 different hearts, which is fun. And then I found some rainbow zebras. And I thought those were cute. So I did those for my last stats page. And then here we go. Anything was possible. When you hear hooves, you look for horses, but you can't discount zebras. And that was said by Paula Hawkins. And I just love it. I love it. So there is June. Since you're here, we might as well. There's July. There's a hint into what July's theme is going to be like. So there we are. I will let you pop back to Stacy. So there you have it. There is the first half of the year of 2023 in my digital journal, as well as a sneak peek for what July's spread is. I'm pretty excited. I definitely, like I mentioned, have lagged a little bit on keeping up with my yearly stuff as much. There was definitely a good chunk of time I had to set aside at the end of June and the beginning of July just to kind of get things caught up through the end of June. But I'm hoping that now that I kind of remember and it's like re-entered my brain now that this filming this video was coming up, I can do better at least once a month going through and updating the big yearly chunks. So we'll see how that goes. If you have a digital journal as well and you do videos or an Instagram or anything like that, definitely let me know. I would love to check out what other people are doing. This is a way for me. I'm crafty and I'm artistic, but not in a bullet journal by hand type of way. That's not where I feel confident in crafting and being artistic. So digital journaling has really worked well for me. Especially because I can do like a more of a collage style, which is something I have always enjoyed. But let me know if you do digital journaling. If you have any other like freebie sites that you want to plug, I definitely would love to check them out, or even any digital sticker creators that I can check out. I would love to know. If you'd like to just leave me an emoji instead, leave me your favorite emoji, because we're talking about favorites here. But otherwise, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all soon with another video.